Okay, all right. Afternoon, guys. Thanks for your time today. I'll try and make it as value added as possible. I'm just going to dive straight into the presentation and keep it as practical as we can. So my aim is to share, add value for you. So let's dive in. Just going to start sharing the screen here. And just as that's waiting to share, we already had an opportunity for standardization today. As we were coming onto the call, we come on 10 minutes early, and it's still, yeah, there we go. And I've got a little video that I'm going to play in the presentation here, and it's always a pain to get it to play when you're doing any kind of live share. And what we learned today is that it doesn't work on the Teams browser, but it works on the Teams app. So for future, Steve can give everybody an SOP of a guest remote joining. And that's part of the culture of building standards. So we'll touch on that when we dive into the presentation proper. So here we go. My computer was having a wee grind there. It should be sharing now. Steve, you can let me know, is everybody seeing that all right?
That's perfect.
Yep. All right, great stuff, chaps. So the title of the presentation today is actually a new book that I'm co-authoring with a customer of GembaDocs in the US. So we're calling it Standards That Work. And really, because the title is not meant to be ironic. It's like often it's very difficult to get standards in place at all with traditional tools. And often when you're doing it the traditional way, how useful are they is very questionable. So what this is all about is how we can get great processes to bring calm, productive flow, because that's the prize of having good standardized processes that are well implemented with people that are highly skilled. So about myself, when I rush through this quite quickly, I'm just going to grab my phone here for the time. I'm originally from Arafelt, County Derry, and get recently been a lot of stuff about am I Irish or not? I don't know, but I consider myself very Irish. Grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere, went to university in Birmingham, England. I was very fortunate to get 10 years working in the automotive industry, mostly in England, a little bit in Germany. When I started work, it was 1993, and the Japanese transplants were super prevalent in England. The Nissans, the Toyotas, and the Hondas were just really revolutionizing how the automotive supply chain worked, especially in terms of quality planning and quality control and things like SOPs, inspection standards, and so on. And I was really fortunate to be around at the time, and I'm very heavily mentored by the Japanese around those subjects. And I was able to watch my colleagues from the time were totally shocked because the level of rigor that the Japanese were applying was so much higher than what they were used to from the likes of British Leyland and Rover and General Motors and so on. So it was a fantastic time to come into the engineering world. I went back home, did an MBA at Trinity College, although I actually think that for me, that MBA was a seriously value-adding experience. It turned me in from a functional specialist into a general manager. I loved the experience. Trinity was amazing. It gave me the tools to go into this next role of Olair, where it was a hydraulics company. It was non-automotive. There's me at the top of a 85-meter high wind turbine. That was one of our big markets. And I was the supply chain director within that organization, and then the commercial director for 5 years each. And it was operating at a different level. Prior to that, I was very, very operational in what I was doing, very hands-on. And in this role, I was managing change and people. We had 650 people. We turned it from a 60 million to a 200 million organization. And it was all about organization change. And so that's what I consider myself having a good skill set for doing, which is really what GembaDocs is, a tool to help people with that kind of change. So from there into software in India, after we sold Olair successfully, I founded a software company in India who are now the team that build GembaDocs. And I decided to go back into industry about 6 years ago and came across 2-second lean, which, I'd been practicing lean since 1993 before it was called lean. And I had a very, fixed view of what lean was. I saw lean as a very dry, technically driven, engineer driven, something that was really imposed onto the shop floor rather than it paid lip service to real participation, where 2-second lean really flipped my whole view of what lean is, and it simplified things. And at this time I was doing a turnaround in a company of about 70 people, and they asked me to implement lean, and without 2-second lean I would have been completely dead. So 2-second lean let me do a real transformation without any consultants, without any real support, just by ourselves. And it's a fantastic approach. I highly recommend it. And as Steve touched upon, the Lean Play app is an app my software company built, and it has Paul Akers' book 2-second lean and all his other books, my books, and a few other. It's basically an Audible clone, completely free. So I highly recommend just check 2-second lean play on your app store, and it's great for killing time in the car. And during that time, I wrote Improvement Starts with I, because by this stage I'd implemented 2-second lean in 3 companies, and I was frustrated that I could see people trying to apply 2-second lean, and most of the time they were failing. And I wrote the book as the how to do 2-second lean, and it touched at least 10,000 people now on different platforms, and I'm very proud of the book. It's really good karma to have written it. It's done a lot of good, and I highly recommend it for anybody who's serious about doing lean. And then as in my third 2-second lean implementation, what happened was we were launching a new product, and my business partner said, "You know all about standard work and work instructions and all that. Will you do it?" And I wasn't keen on the idea because I'd spent months before trying to do it with Excel and my phone and handwritten notes. And I took a day to document about a third of the process, showed him my output, thinking he would go, "Oh, Tom, that's brilliant, you're great." And instead I got, "How long did that take you? And do you not have a software company?" And anyway, a couple of months later, we had a prototype for GembaDocs, and yeah, the rest is history. Now we've clients in over 30 countries, available in 11 languages. We've got all kinds of organizations that are using it, from one-man bands, SMEs, right up to some of the world's largest organizations. And I'm very proud over that. This is our 4th year of operation, and I've had hundreds of calls with customers now, and visits, physical site visits, and I've gathered what I hope is a useful set of tools that I can help people with their standard process journey. So as I touched on at the beginning of the presentation, I'm actually writing a new book at the moment to really do this job properly. So we're going to go to the Gemba now, and this is our little, I'm going to play a video. It's from a wood shop, small wood shop, sort of 50 people in the US, but they're doing a really good job of implementing GembaDocs, and it just shows, I think it's a great opportunity to show you what good looks like in this world. So this is Sam. So Sam's basically giving you some background on himself and describing how he was really struggling with his standard processes until he came across GembaDocs. He'd been working with Excel and Word and doing what I'd been doing prior to coming across GembaDocs and really struggling. So let's hope he hurries up here and gets. So we're just going to dive into his shop floor here in a sec. So what he's saying there is that the biggest benefit he's seen with using GembaDocs is that he can easily upskill people on complex tasks much faster than if he didn't have a standard process in place. So this is an edge bander, which in woodworking world is probably the most complicated machine in their shop. And you see these QR codes that are on the machine. They're all explaining how to do different functions. Most of them pretty simple: start up, shut down, change over. And then he has some more troubleshooting SOPs as a reference file here. So they started out doing the basic stuff, and over time, as they encounter problems and challenges, they document how they fix certain things. And so now they're able to troubleshoot with their SOPs, effectively making it a lot easier for a lower skilled person to operate the machine. Again, on here, we have a saying in our lean world, put the answer where the question is, and all these SOPs, he has them on magnets there, so that's the full SOP. He can take them off the wall and take them to where they need to be with the operator. And that's everything the operator needs to know for that.
Take people who are never used an edge matter before, they can follow procedures and make it work. Another great example is our new case pipe.
So this is another new machine. I don't want to repeat myself for you guys. Let's see if I can make this fast forward. I think this is, I'm actually going to leave it there because I think that's enough of a taste for what, like, and it's not, I have no intention of trying to make this a GembaDocs sales call. I really, really genuinely don't. That's just to show you, if you use this tool, what you can get and what let's say, what the end goal can be. So what are the 5 big whys why you'd want to do this? Well, you're upskilling your employees, like we couldn't hear Sam say there, but it is that old myth. And if you read the traditional Toyota TPS standard work stuff, they would say it's not about taking somebody in off the street and being able to just follow an SOP and go. To some extent, with GembaDocs tasks, that is what we're trying to do. And it's not for the most safety critical tasks in the world of just like follow the SOP and away you go. We wouldn't advocate that. But for an awful lot of tasks in a factory, you can document the process and build a huge amount of redundancy and make that whole effort of bringing somebody up to speed a lot faster. Next thing is about creating consistency, because we have a standard to follow and therefore we're going to minimize defects. So with no methodology, and I've been this guy on the left, that's supposed to represent a Greek character from Greek mythology called King Sisyphus, with my minor lisp. He was apparently he was the most intelligent human of the time, and he tricked the gods numerous times, and to punish him, they sent him the deepest pits of Hades, and they sentenced him to push this rock up this mountain, and if he ever managed to get it over the mountain, he would be free. But they made a trick that he would never be able to do it because the rock always slipped at the last minute. And for me, that's what it feels like with no real methodology when you're trying to do lean, or even more specifically, your standard processes. Like this comes from a diagram that was originally from Taichi Ono about if we look at the journey from sloppiness and inconsistency, or like, you know, nothing, no process, to world class. If we think of that as a hill and the process is a ball, well, we need something to stop it rolling down the hill, because gravity, if you've nothing in place, is going to pull it down into sloppiness and inconsistency. And really, that's what an SOP does for you. The SOP is that backstop to stop the ball falling down the hill. So the methodology, like I've researched all the different tools. Some of them I've practiced for a long, long time. So we've got really 2 main schools of thought when it comes to standardizing your processes. You have the traditional Toyota production system way, which is super rigorous. Like, it's not just about documenting the process, it's a waste reduction tool. So we're analyzing the work in space and time, as you can see from the standard worksheet there. And it's a really, really rigorous process. But I'm just going to say something maybe controversial. I've worked in some really huge companies, and I've never seen it applied properly outside automotive. I'll even be more specific. I've never seen it really applied properly outside of Toyota. So, and the reasons for that is it's a cultural, and the level of training that Toyota apply and the level of resources that they apply to do that makes it happen. And without doing that, and very few organizations do, it's a kind of wishful thinking if you think you're going to apply that methodology without a huge amount of investment and effort. So the other end of the spectrum when it comes to standardizing processes is like the systemology, the free the entrepreneur, standardize the processes so you can go to the beach, originally coming from the E-Myth by Michael Gerber, in my opinion. And there's other books like Here, Buy Back Your Time that are stemming from that school of thought. The problem here is that there's no rigor. It's just about documenting your processes. There's no real thought to how they're implemented and embedded into your organization. There's no real analytical rigor, and there's no real thought to continuous improvement. So what we're doing with GembaDocs and this approach that I'm advocating here is the standards at work approach is somewhere in the middle of that. So we're trying to take the best of both and applying it so that any organization has a clear roadmap to implement standards. So the methodology that we're applying, we're looking at that process ball on the hill to world class again. The SOP is there to stop the ball falling down the hill. And we're using these alignment document implement steps to create that SOP and make it stay there. And then we have an improvement step that's going to push that process up the hill of world class. That's really what we're going to spend the rest of this talk talking about. And as we do that, we're going to get to better and better. And it's a continuous improvement task. So first of all, for alignment, just keeping things really simple. A boat goes nowhere if everyone is rowing in different directions. So the standardization process is a process, and it is an organization change. So we need to take a systemized, process-driven approach to this process of standardization. And there are three. When I first started writing this book, I based this around the fog behavior model that some of you might be familiar with. It's very much took a back seat in my latest draft of the book, but I'm still going to use it here a little. It's fog behavior, if you're not already familiar with it. I came across it first in software design, and it's used by the likes of Facebook and Google and all the people basically to manipulate people's behavior. And how you're doing that is through two main ways. One, making it a thing very easy to do. And in this case, think Amazon one click versus what we used to have to do for e-commerce with like 10 steps to get to your shopping cart. Whereas with Amazon, just make it super easy to do, click, done. And motivation is making people more motivated to do it. The more you motivate some people to do it and the easier it is to do, the more likely when you make a prompt that somebody is to do it. So that's the essence of the fog behavior model. And on the alignment side, I'm looking at that in that kind of way. So we're going to look at motivation first. So within Lean, there is no shortcut. You can't delegate Lean. You can't buy it. If that's just my experience, you can buy a temporarily improved process, but you can't buy a Lean culture. And if you're going to put processes in place, you're stepping towards a Lean culture. So leadership is by the person, someone in the organization has to drive this, and they have to drive it practically doing it themselves. The book I wrote was Improvement Starts With I, and it's very much in that spirit. It's not about telling other people, it's about doing it yourself and selling the benefits then. And with this, you're looking for processes, if say you're using GembaDocs, of processes that annoy everybody, starting with the struggle, like invisible processes, like how you clean the canteen, how you start up the coffee machine, how you clean the bathroom, simple tasks like that that are very visible and to get people curious about what you're doing. And the benefits of creating standard processes is that when you're involving the people at the front line, as we're going to come on to in a later step of this in a second, when you're empowering people to have an input into their process and how it's created, you develop a whole different level of ownership. So back to my old days of 1993 and even working with Toyota, we told operators what to do. That's the truth. We didn't ask them for input, and we didn't heavily involve them. So the process of doing this right involves the operator heavily. And then I'm not, just because of the time today, I'm not going to go into every single detail of the benefit here, but our stakeholders that we're looking for to make this work are frontline staff, the team leaders and the supervisors and the senior management. And as always, in anything to do with Lean, senior management haven't bought in, forget it. And if you're the continuous improvement person that's driving this, if your senior management have bought in, your next level is the team leaders, supervisors. So anyway, on the easy to do, part of the fog behavior model. We've really solved that problem with GembaDocs. And I'm sure there's people in this call that have tried to use Word and Microsoft and Google. For us, like we have now hundreds of customers, as I touched on earlier. I'm confident to say the average SOP creation is less than 30 minutes. And it ends up really being about a minute a step. And it's so simple that anybody can do it. With one of our largest customers, ExxonMobil, one of the reasons they love it is because I can, in their words, I can hand it to a 50-something field service engineer and not have to tell him how to use it. And that to me is what we're trying to do with GembaDocs. And starting with the common areas, as I touched on earlier, you've got your bathrooms and your simple tasks. And the great thing for you compared to where I've been when I've been doing this before, when you're able to break it down to that level of, right, an SOP is going to be done in less than 30 minutes. The average maturity, when I look into hundreds of organizations in GembaDocs, this is where they start to level out, and somewhere around 6 months to 12 months. That they've 200 SOPs really does a lot of coverage in most organizations. So when you take those two numbers, it's really only 100 hours to do something majorly transformative to your organization. And for me, that just even being aware of that is a major motivational. So this guy that you see here holding the trophies, his company, he's who I'm writing the book with, actually. They did 1,000 SOPs in an organization of 47 people in 4 months. And I've got a video coming out next week, if you look at the GembaDocs YouTube channel, that shows you how and why they did that. And so that's what we've done. We've made it easy to do. Next is about having targets and check-ins. So within your team, organizing your team, who's going to do what and what are we committing to doing? So you've got, like, for example, there's all, I'll just give you an easy example. Seaton Matters, who many of you will know on this call, the way they approached it was that every single person in the organization had to do 2 SOPs in a month. And they defined half a dozen people that they called GembaDoctors, who were there to facilitate the organization to do that. So it really meant that in a Seaton Matters style company, you got to about 400 SOPs in just about 4 months, and you had a really serious level of buy-in. And obviously some people did 10 and 20, but the least you were allowed was 2. And then we, as we learned from our customers, we built this little feature in the GembaDocs that you can take the timeline there and go last week and see how many people have created or updated an SOP and who's done it. So it just makes it easy to keep the rope tight on the project progress. So hopefully you're getting a flavor for where we're going. On the document, that's don't be at your desk unless the process is at the desk. So and we're really starting with the basics. Back to the Sam Jackson video from the beginning. What I'm hearing time and time again from our customers, what works is you start with the easy stuff. Start with turning on the machine, turn off the machine, how you load a program onto the machine, how you change over a tool, the things that are near enough everyday tasks. And that's your basic target. And then as you go and you encounter problems, then you standardize the processes of troubleshooting and make that information available at the machine. So hearing that time and time again. The processes aren't all the same though. So I've broke them down into 3. I actually have another little book that I didn't even mention so far. I wrote Great Processes. Again, you can get it in the Lean Play app. It's only half an hour long to listen to, and it was designed to help with alignment, that everybody in the organization could listen to it for half an hour. It's not too much to ask. And we break the processes down into these 3 categories. So you got low precision, medium precision, high precision. Low precision, anybody can do it, like change the printer cartridge on the office printer. It doesn't matter. It's not super technical. No matter, any kind of process is going to help the next person. And stick a QR code on the printer. You can scan that if the next person needs to know, and it's adding value. But for everything but that, we've definitely seen that it's much better to have this rule of 2. So for anything that's where the outcome's variable, and it's anywhere near critical task, always have two people to do it. And this can be in the, like say, back to the Seek Matters example, you could have your facilitator, GembaDoctor, plus the operator, and that would be the minimum. Or you could, like, as things get more serious, you could have a process expert, maintenance person. But the two-person rule, you just get a better quality document. And bear in mind, it's not just about making a document, it's about creating value for the lifetime of that process. So the better, more effort you put in to begin with, the more likely your investment's going to pay off. And we'd recommend, this comes from training within industry, that just having that little bit of rigor on each step, like, can we eliminate this? Can we combine it? Can we rearrange the step to make it better? Can we simplify it? And it's actually a natural outcome of using GembaDocs when two people are using the document the process. They're asking questions and they come up with often what I call the best of two brains. And they come up with a better process just by documenting it. The next level is high precision. And that's obviously for safety critical things. So with them, we need to include the process expert, and processes like inspection and test fall in that category. I'm going to accelerate. That's what a GembaDocs looks like. And within that process, something like that literally take you 6 minutes to do that. And all of that can be done on the app. And that's a pretty complicated process. Next, share. So in the document, what I've seen with best practice with our customers is that when they create new processes, they make sure that they're shared. So it's a very common practice that people take them into the daily stand-ups and they share, we have a new process for this. And they might not go through every single process, but they at least make everybody aware that it's done. And if somebody wants to ask questions about it, they let them and they give that input to do it. We actually have a feature in GembaDocs that puts a feedback QR code on the last step of the document. So anybody using it that has feedback to this isn't clear, I have an improvement suggestion, that all goes into the system, and you can keep improving that way. Next is on the implementation side of things, step 3. And here it's a little bit what I was talking about before. The most important thing is you can't expect people to follow a standard if they're not aware of it. So our favorite expression with regards to implementation is put the answer where the question is. So at the point of use, make the answer there. So with GembaDocs, you can print the whole thing out. You've got the mobile app, you've got QR codes, and you can even access them on your PC or URL links that can go into any other system. So if you've got an ERP system that's putting work routines out into the shop floor, you can put the GembaDoc inside that trigger. If it's an electronic trigger, if it's a works order with a piece of paper, get the QR code for how to accomplish that task where it's actually needed. And that is so critical. Ideally, make the SOP a part of the process so that you can't complete it without looking at the SOP. Next one is training. And this comes out of training within industry. So this is like from the 1940s. I didn't come up with this, but I know it works. And this is from the job instruction pocket card. I've just basically put a GembaDocs logo on it. And there's 4 simple steps. We prepare the worker when we're going to train them on a task. We present the operation and we show and illustrate one important key step at a time, key point and reason. We try out their performance. We correct for errors. We make sure and continue until they know. And then when we're stepping back on the training, we inform them who they can go to from help. We're checking back in on them frequently, and we're tapering off the code sheet. All of this is possible if you've got a documented process. I'd argue it's much more difficult if you don't. And the most critical line on that slide is if the person hasn't learned, the instructor hasn't taught. And in my experience, very few organizations have that culture. So, but that's what we want to aim for. Next is skills matrix. So if you've got all your processes in place, to really keep the rope tight is to understand and have training records for everything. So this is something we've only recently implemented in GembaDocs. It's all integrated with your SOPs and non-SOP training items, and you can create these in web. We're having it that you can have it also fully creating and editing and updating in a mobile app. You can have a QR code to have your skills matrix instead of having it on a screen or a printed form that's going out of date all the time. You can just scan a QR code and see who can do what. It's now in soft launch phase at the minute. Improvement, I'm pushing the pedal down here to make sure we have Q&A time. The key point of the improvement step is that your organization focuses on process-centered problem solving. And this is the most important point I can make here. It's about attacking the process, not the person. So if we don't have a documented process, I'd argue we've nobody to attack but the person. So when we put processes in place, we now enable this to happen. And what we're doing is when we encounter a quality problem, for example, we're asking these questions. Do we have a standard? Okay, standard, yes. Okay, did we follow it? Standard, no. Okay, we need to put a standard in place for that. So if they didn't follow it, well, why? Why was it not followed? Were you not trained? Was it not clear? Did you not have the time? Is the process bad? Or did you not care? And it's not about a witch hunt, but it is an analytical opportunity, an improvement opportunity. And building that culture when you've got processes is how you keep improving. And the next is, it's very similar around knowledge gaps. So when we go to do something and we have to ask a question, okay, that's an opportunity to plug that knowledge gap, put the answer where the question is and share. Back to that documentation step. Third part is structured reviews. So for mission critical processes, like I have a manufacturing company and we only do this for 2 processes in the entire place. They're safety critical products. We have the processes for those on a quarterly review, and we have to go through a structured review of those processes. So this is it's inside GembaDocs, and you document all this. So who's your team? Is the process described well? Is it clear? Have things changed in the processes? Have tools changed? Do we need to update it? Are there opportunities to improve? Is everybody doing it trained properly? Is our competence correct? So we're doing that for important safety critical and quality critical products. So I've managed to get there not too badly over time. So we're into questions. I'm going to get rid of this PowerPoint because all I can see is a PowerPoint slide. And yeah, I just want to encourage you, using this approach, less than 100 hours, you can change things in your organization. I'm going to come out of this now and go back and looking at you lot's pretty faces for the Friday afternoon. Okay, thanks for listening.
Tom, thanks a million. That was fantastic. I'm sure there's lots of interest in standard work and trying to implement standard work, and you've probably all had successes and failures. Anybody want to kick off with a question, either in the chat? You can use the chat.
There's Noel.
Hi, Steve. Yeah, hi. Hey, look, Tom, great presentation. I love the simplicity of it. I think it's fantastic. I have a company I'm doing a bit of work with, about 50 people, family-owned company, great product, great people, no procedures. I think it could be brilliant for them. What's the cost model on it?
It's really cost effective. You're going from 400. We price everything in dollars because 3/4 of our customers are in North America. So you're going from $499 for 5 users for a year, and it goes up from there. But for your type of company, that 50 people, it's typically the $999, and they can also pay monthly, and there's no fixed contract, so they can come and go as
Excellent.
they like. And compared to anything else that's out there, it's like it's massively cheaper than anything I'm aware of out there.
Yeah, I've a company tried to do this on Word, and I don't know how long they spend trying to do one standard work on a Word document, and compared to this, I think the $999 will be back in your pocket before you know it.
Done in a week. Like just one wee war story of mine. That first place I was doing 2-second lean, that about 70 machines, and they wanted everything processes. I was doing it with Excel and handwritten notes and everything. The best I was able to do was 2 in an afternoon, and 2 bad ones as well. And like, yeah, and the other point I'd love to make is You see, whenever you're that guy with the clipboard and the phone and all that, you own the process, not them. And that's the biggest problem. So all that effort I was putting in before with my Excel and my clips and all that, see, whenever the operators are holding the phone and they're doing it, there's a whole other dynamic. It's much more useful. And there's a question from Suzanne. You can edit everything in GembaDocs. Basically, the problems we set out to solve initially was to make the SOPs easy to create, edit, and deploy. Those are the three problems we were looking to solve. That's expanded in scope a bit now, but they were the initial three.
Tom, somebody asked me this recently. When you do edit the documents, does it retain the QR code?
Oh yeah. The QR code actually always stays the same. It's one of the lovely things. Like, I'm a quality guy originally, and so we built ISO in 9000 series. I was shocked. It hardly changed since BS 5750 for the grayer-haired people on this call. But yeah, all your document control and your change histories are all in there. And the QR code and the URL link, you create the document, it stays with the lifetime of that document. So anytime anybody scans that QR code, it's only going to be the latest version they're going to see. And the same for a URL link if you have it in an electronic document.
Yeah.
Let's see, have we any more? Or maybe my internet's crap.
Rich, did you want to ask a question? The highly regulated work environment.
Sorry, I'll come off mute. So that was great, Tom. Thanks for the presentation. Really enjoyed it. Just my question would be, in highly regulated industries where we have quality control procedures and stuff, how do we implement GembaDocs that ties into their own protocols and approvals for developing SOPs and training people? Did you come across challenges?
Oh, sure, Richard. We already have a approval process built natively into GembaDocs. So you can have a process for, we've integrated that with another feature we call tags. So you can tag your different processes and have different approval routes for them before they can go live. So for example, you could have goods inwards has the warehouse manager and the quality manager. And whenever somebody raises a new document, it doesn't go live till they've approved it. And it's pretty simple. But you can tailor that process for whatever different documents you have. But it is really simple that way.
Thank you.
I see a question there from is it Darren? Issues with culture change. Do you want to discuss that one?
Yeah, culture change. For me, the software is a given. Genuinely, I think it's a great, and we're improving that tool all the time, but the software tool is not the problem if people don't get implemented. It's all about the culture change. So for me, I really recommend people do check out my book. It's completely free, so there's nothing in it for me if you do that. But the number one thing, I'm constantly coaching and mentoring people on their lean journey. And the two biggest issues are the top person doesn't get it and isn't doing it. And the second one is that there are people in the senior team who aren't aligned and aren't on board either. So it's really those two. If you've got those two things happening, whether it's lean or implementing standard processes as a micro part of lean, you're always going to be on a sticky wicket. That's the truth of it. And if your leader or your senior person says, right, we're going to standardize our processes, and he means it, or he or she means it, then you're halfway there. But if that's not there, you're always going to struggle.
Tara, you got a question?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Great presentation. Really enjoyed it. Just a question about the QR codes and the functionality behind it. So I would have seen up in Seaton Matters where they link QR codes to kind of instructional videos to help people with standard operating procedures. I'm just wondering, is that possible in GembaDocs?
It is, and it's a great point. It's a point I get to talk about a lot. You can load other hosted videos into GembaDocs, and it also stays on a QR code in GembaDocs as well. But I think personally, I think videos are only useful for simple processes. So we've got step-by-step videos into GembaDocs. So I'll try to make it a succinct example. About 6 months ago, I was trying to encourage our customers to give G2 reviews. It's a big software review platform. And I did a video, and it took me about half an hour to do a video. And the video was about 12 minutes at the end. And I thought to myself, there is no way on God's earth anybody's going to do that. Right? Because it was about 30 or 40 steps, super complicated. And there's no way I'm going to sit through that. And so even though it was short time to create it, the end user value is low. And I ended up doing a GembaDoc, and it took me about an hour to do it in GembaDocs. But now I've got a static document that I can flick through. I can put little video steps in there, but if you see, hopefully you'll understand what I mean. When I look at that the first time I want to use it, I'm going through every step and I'm really focused on it. But as you learn, you can taper off how much you need that SOP. But whereas with a video, you just can't do that. So I believe there's much more. I'd only use video, and I use Loom literally every day. It's a fantastic piece of software. But I only use it for simple things. If you start to go beyond half a dozen steps, it's really arduous on the end user. And God forbid you want to make a change, because now you're going to have to film the whole thing all over again. So, and then you don't do it, frankly. That's human nature. They don't do it. So the step-by-step for me is, for anything that's a complicated process, it's the way to go.
Great insight, Tom. Thank you.
Steve,
Question
Alex
from Drew.
McDonald, could I ask a question when you get a minute?
Alex, go ahead.
You sure? Thanks, Emil. Hi, Tom. This is great. We're the lean consultancy business specialized in the service and knowledge work sectors. So two kind of parts to a question. One is, can we, in the software, can we call them standard work documents rather than SOPs? Because SOPs in that sector tend to be large books that are kind of compliance driven, not work driven. So we try and say, listen, keep the SOP. We'll do a standard work document that's a subset of it, specifically designed for how to perform the task. And then the second part of that is, have you any good examples of organizations that are using it in a widespread fashion in service and knowledge work organizations?
Right. First question. There's nowhere on the GembaDoc itself that it says the word standard operating procedure, but it is in the software. In quite a few places, it says, like, we label SOP dashboard, for example. So, and it'll be very difficult for us to change it. But the document itself doesn't say SOP on it. So it depends how hard that is for you to fly. The next thing, I would, just being really candid with you, GembaDocs comes into its own when the process has got some element of physicality to it. I pride myself in telling the truth. So the vast majority of our customers have a physical element to their process. So, for example, I'll give you a local one. Cocoon Rugs, basically the biggest rug supplier in the UK and Ireland, one of our early adopters of GembaDocs, and they're using it like for all their digital marketing side of things and all that stuff. They're doing it, but if they did, even though they're not making anything, they are moving things around physically, and they're taking screen grabs of PDAs for the warehouse processes and all of that. Oh, can you guys see me, by the way? Just realized.
No, your camera's off at the moment.
What? That's because of the blooming. They were still sharing the PowerPoint. But yeah, look, I think that's just me being really genuinely honest with you. I can't actually think of we have accountants and lawyers using it, but are they using it at a super high level? Honestly, I haven't seen it. That's the honest truth. Everybody has an element of the physical process in there. So that's an answer that's not, how can I put it, politically correct. I'm just being genuine with you.
No, that's much appreciated. Thanks. So might follow up offline with a chat about that and some insights we might have.
I'd love you to help me to change it.
Yeah. Very good. Thanks a million.
There's Brian.
You had a question about steps.
Oh,
The number of steps.
oh yes. It really, the answer to that, like every good question, is it depends. So, I don't think there is an ideal. Like, we have people doing super complicated processes. Personally, I think once they go above 50, because we have people doing that, like complicated welding the bumper of a car, and that whole fabrication process is how they weld it and clamp it, and everything is in GembaDocs. And like, so if that's what the process needs, that's what the process needs. But personally, I think you should try to break them down into something less than 50, purely from the fact that if you've got a bad internet connection, they can take a while to load. So, but there's no limit in our software. You can have as many as you like.
Anybody else? Brian, if you've got a question, hand up.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Tom. Really enjoyed that as usual. I suppose I'll just give you a quick perspective on GembaDocs being used by a semi-state company. So we probably started last summer, and we've about at last count about 160 GembaDocs, or work instructions we call them, in place. It has been a bit of a game changer for us. Definitely, we're putting, as you said, the answers where the questions are. My question really is around compliance. So we put them up, we share them with staff, we talk to them. It's about making sure it's being followed all the time is probably the biggest challenge we have. Any advice on that?
I think if it's for critical processes, you should go the skills route, the skills matrix route. And that way you're going to, say process X, and you take a department and you formally train them, and you get the guys to go, yes, I have signed it off. I know how to do that. And I think that's the next level of getting compliance bought in and ownership. So otherwise you're leaving it very much to chance, I think. That would be my short answer to that. What do you think of that answer, Brian? What do you think yourself? Does that sound like a way to go?
Yeah, I suppose it comes back to the definition of critical steps. For us, we sort parcels, and we load parcels on the conveyor and take them off, and letters. I'm probably speaking on behalf of a couple of people first on the call. Yeah, we've noticed less issues now that we're rolling this out. I wouldn't say we've rolled it out. We're rolling this out slowly but surely. Definitely taking hold. Yeah, less issues noticed. And your point about the staff being involved themselves in the creation of the GembaDoc also creates a bit of ownership, that rather than being told what to do, you said very early on, they're now part of the process. So yeah, no, long may it continue. And the other point is, yeah, you were going to promise me you're going to send out your game, your 3D game. You're going to send it on. It's probably lost in the post, is it?
No worries, mate. I have a pint of them over there. I just forgot. Brian, you have to drop me your address, mate, on LinkedIn. I'll get you one, surely. No bother. Along with the SOP.
You can send it by courier.
I can send it by courier, surely.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Thanks,
Please do, Brian. And yeah, so any other questions? And I noticed, just want to say hello, Keith Long. Keith, thank you for everything. You're a big advocate, and I really appreciate it.
Tom, good to speak to you in person. I suppose we've kind of liaised over the WhatsApp and stuff like that. But yeah, I just need to add that I'm not involved in GembaDocs, but we use it, and it's been very, very successful in our company. We find it a really good tool.
Thank you, sir.
And Kate,
every Friday afternoon. This is brilliant crack.
Kate, we were trying to rope you guys into a Dublin Lean network, either event or visit at some stage.
Yeah, that's right. Aaron mentioned that to me. All right. I suppose give us a couple of more months maybe to get a little bit more refined. We've only started doing the tours. We've had a couple in, and like we had our biggest customer in there last week, and they were yeah, it went very, very well. So it was good feedback from them. So it's good to see. So we've got a couple more in the pipeline. So we'll get a little bit more refined, and we'd absolutely love to have you hopefully before the end of the summer. all going well, Steve. That'd be great. You too, Tom, and anybody else.
Brilliant. Steve,
Absolutely,
keep me
yeah.
up to date with that because I'd
Yeah.
love to come down.
If anybody wants to throw any more questions for Tom in the chat, just on the subject of visits and stuff, we have a steering committee, quite a few of them on the call here. We will have an event every month, at least one event, and we'll have a number of visits this year. Part of our job is trying to convince people like Keith to actually just to, you know, open the door and have a visit. Most companies say to me, no, we're not ready yet. Steve, could you do it next year? Because maybe we'll be much better then, be much better. I should say you're never ready. And I think asking Ryan Tierney, like, why do you take people in every week? And like, you know, for him, it's a two-way thing. You know, you get an awful lot of feedback and people ask questions, and it's from the questions and from the feedback that you actually, you know, you can actually improve. I also think as well, I mean, from working with companies, I'm at this for years and I'm still learning. It's fantastic. And the more I'm trying to explain stuff, if I'm out there trying to explain to people what GembaDocs is all about and why standard work's important, I'm actually getting better at it myself in terms of understanding why it's really, really important. So I think there's a two-way win-win when you host a visit. So if there's anybody on the call who is interested in either hosting like Tom today and sharing some experience, today was all about standard work. I think it's one of the huge foundations, but there's plenty of other, you know, and culture is a big, big thing. We're going to get a lot into that this year. Let us know if you're up for an event or a visit. We've got a fairly full agenda. We'll definitely have another one next month. I'm looking at maybe a couple of guys who have Toyota experience from the States, but again, a lot of culture stuff in their presentation. So with that,
See,
I think.
Can I add one little thing around the tour thing? Because it's a thing that people miss very often. Believe it or not, I know an awful lot of people in Lane that believe that the people given the tour get the most. They get more than the visitors. It's a little dark secret, is that it's the motivation that your people in your team get. The more tours you do to show other people this is what we're doing, and they get real pride and they develop in a big way. And having that external every week we've got a tour helps to keep the motivation to sustain your lean at a good level because they know people are coming in. So it's a major thing. I couldn't encourage it more. I have a fully remote team, or I'd be sticking my hand up. We're going to do a virtual tour.
Oh, we might hold you to that. We'll come back to you,
Yeah.
Tom, again. And I know, like, Tara, you're up in Seaton Matters, and I think a few other people were up there. It'd be great to have a few sites like that around the Dublin area. You know, people that are happy to talk about lean, share it. And I agree with what Tom says there. I used to bring customers into my plant and always bring them and hand them over to the people actually in the work areas. And the people in the work area, it's like having a visitor coming to your house. You kind of go, you're going to put your best show on. And if the visitor says something about the coffee, you're going to make sure that coffee is right next time. You know, it's the same thing. It's the same type of approach, I think.
I want to come back to Alex's question. I did myself an injustice earlier. We actually, in the GembaDocs organization, with no physical product and no process, we're using GembaDocs to great effect. I should have mentioned that. It's because up until about, I don't know, 9 months ago, GembaDocs was more or less me plus software development. And now we've got a team of half a dozen. And yeah, we're using GembaDocs every day. It's great crack. We're really enjoying it. But that's part of a lean culture building initiative. We have morning meetings and we're, doing more than just here's GembaDocs, if you get me. But,
Daniel, question.
Yes, I want to say thank you as well, Tom. GembaDocs very good help in here at WML campus. And I have a big promise from Steve there. He can tell you himself. A few months back, we did the course with a couple of my colleagues, and his pens were the best pens on the market, lean team pens, So Steve promised that the next batch of the pens will have the rubber tips, so we can actually use them by just clicking your GembaDocs on the phones. So stay connected there.
There you are.
So, thanks very much, Steve. And as
Thank
Brian
you.
already requested, I will send Stephen the address as well for the box of pens there. Okay, Steve.
How many of these pens have you got, Daniel?
I think I have about 7 at the moment, but I'm running out of the ink. So waiting for the next batch.
Oh man.
All right, thanks very much. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
Steve,
Listen,
I think
everybody-
Daniel has volunteered as well to host a visit to the Dublin Mail Centre in March, I understand.
Yeah, you're down on the list, and Brian, you're on the steering committee as well. So, and look, if anybody has any feedback, get in touch either through the LinkedIn site, contact us directly. If you have any ideas you'd like to get involved, we'd love to hear from you. Tom, thanks a million for that.
You're
The
very
hour,
welcome.
as always, flies by when you have a good speaker, a lot of attendance, and really appreciate your time today. And I hope everybody got a good flavour for, what's out there. And it's Irish. It's not American. It's not Japanese. It's Irish. Thanks a million.
Here, guys. Thanks so
All the
much. I
best.
really
Steve.
enjoyed
Take care,
it. Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
for the invitation, Steve. Thanks,
Well done,
everybody.
Tom.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.